Well, so far Cheetah Plains is quite quiet this morning. Very beautiful, lovely and fresh, lots of bird sounds, but not too much on the large mammal front. So we've done the old Kruger boundary, we're now on the Nkoro boundary. We were hoping for any sign of Mr. Q, quarantine the male leopard. No luck so far, so we're going to start meandering back up to the west and towards Djuma again, but we're still deep inside Cheetah Plains. And the wonderful thing about being on a live African safari is you never know what's next. Oh, and there's a very fast moving next. If we go, he's gone. There's a little steenbok. Now, this is the area where quarantine was seen yesterday, but outside of our traverse area. Hello Tracy. Now Tracy's wondering, do we get to travel outside of the Sabi Sands or outside the park to see different animals and go to different areas? We definitely do, Tracy. Normally on our leave, last year I travelled all over the place. So up to Zambia to look at black lechwe and shoe bulls in the Benguelo swamps. I went right up to the border of Congo. And where else did I go last year? Trying to think now. Oh, I went up into the mountains in the Eastern Cape. That was more of a fishing excursion. But yes, we do, Tracy, on our leaves we do tend to travel. VM is a great traveller. VM has got his whole setup. He's very mobile. He's got a mobile house he has with him. VM, where did you go last year? Kalahari?
That was this year.
That was this year, Kalahari. There we go. VM's done the Karoo National Park, the Kalahari. Lots of Kruger, and then VM and I went to Makuyu Park, which is up in the north. So yes, we do travel to go see different areas and different animals, different birds. I'd say VM's probably the most prolific traveller of us though. Oh, VM's spotted a sleeping duiker. Will it sleep or will it run? There she is. Hello, little one. Now, actually, it's so awesome that she's keeping still. Now, you can see all the flies around her face, but just below her eye, you can see a little black line. Now, on both sides, those are glands that she'll use to scent mark and that. Oh, shame. Those flies look very irritating. But yet she keeps still. I think we're going to start experiencing flies now after the rain. If we start beating ourselves on game drive, it's probably because there's a little biting fly on us somewhere. Bye bye, little duiker. I said the sun's coming through, but there is still quite a lot of cloud around. We could definitely use a little bit more rain. Okay, no sign of Mr. Q. So I know you've seen the one Birmingham boy with Jamie this morning with the Nkumas. The other three are all on Chitwa, apparently. Two of them are mating and a third just hanging about. Oh, looking. It has been rather quiet down here on Cheetah Plains this morning. I wonder where Mr. Q is hiding, or Nkanyeni. or Tandi even. Now we sort of moved out of Nkanyeni, the female leopard's territory. This area here falls within Tandi's territory. I haven't seen her in an age, and I'd love to catch up with her and possibly see. Oh, you see that, fam? Coming across, flying high. Where are they gone? There they are. What have we got there? Black-bellied bustards. Oh, massive flying bird there, the black-bellied bustard. A relative of the Koran, except much bigger. So we've got the we've seen quite a lot of red-crested Korans recently, but we haven't seen too many black-bellied bustards, and they're often nicknamed the champagne bird. So when they do a call, they go like a champagne cork popping. Very, very distinct display, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a bit more of it come the summer months. Now, of course, we're looking for the first baby impalas, the first woodlands kingfishers. Well, the woodlands, I think, are a bit late this year because of the lack of rain, so maybe this bit of rain we've had is going to bring the woodlands out. Now, quite often they'll arrive, and for the first couple of days they don't call. So, but I think in at least 2 weeks we're going to be inundated with the of the woodlands kingfisher. Now, a lot of you have been asking about wildflowers, and as I said, it's going to still take a couple of days before a lot of them come into bloom after the rain, but I'm very excited for the wildflowers to come out. Alina in California has asked, do we have a balloon flower milkweed here? Well, we do have milkweed, and the balloon refers to its seeds, and it gets a very spiky balloon ball, can be quite big. Now, Alina, they do attract monarch butterflies, but you must be very careful. They have a very, very poisonous milky latex, and it's one of the plants that the monarch butterflies get their noxiousness from. Now, what I did spot was some beautiful purple flowers in a tree. Look at that, and I think, look, there we go. Isn't that pretty? Now, I think the purple flowers should be today's nearly impossible tree quiz. Haha, so there we go. It's quite a big tree. With the purple flowers, you can see very distinct leaves, and if we have a look at the bark, there we go, quite distinct bark, very distinct bark in fact. So that's today's nearly impossible tree quiz. What tree is that? I'll accept scientific as well as common names. There we go. Today's nearly impossible tree quiz. If you know the answer, questions at WildEarth.tv on email or hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Oh, impala. Are there any little ones? Doesn't look like it just yet. Any day now I'm expecting to see bounding little lambs with legs too long for their bodies. Oh, I can hear some guinea fowls. They're a bit far away for me to hear whether they are alarming or they are just filled with joy. Now, at the moment, they're splitting off into pairs to breed, so there could be some arguments over the ladies between the different males. I'm just going to have a quick look on the open area in front of Cheetah Plains Lodge. Oh, here we go. Can you hear them? Come on, be a leopard. Sounds like they're just up here somewhere. No, unfortunately, I think it is fighting over the ladies, but always worth checking. Where are they now? They've gone quiet. Oh, anyway, we can't see them just yet. While we investigate further, let's go back to Djuma and see how Jamie's faring.
Jamie is in the process of attempting to navigate around that fallen tree that has proved to be quite the obstacle on twin dams. Are we okay there, Brian? Surviving. Uh-oh. Sorry, Brian. There we go. The one thing about moving through trees on a day like today is, of course, you get soaking wet. There we go. That was actually easier than I expected it to be. Came upon another herd of impala, still no sign of babies, and they all dashed off into some very dense vegetation. They're quite nervous, and I think that's probably just a product of the morning after a scary night for them. Lots of rain, it's dark, it's windy. Perfect hunting time for predators. Oh, we've left the lions for now to make space for Mike from Cheetah Plains, and we are trunding once again. No, we're bumbling actually. Remember how I said trunding had a purpose? Now we're just bumbling in the hope that we bump into something exciting. Where are all the elephants is what I would like to know. They've clearly been around, and lots of tree damage, including the one that's currently blocking the entire road. And where on earth are they? Here's an important little lesson as we go through this muddy patch. For those of you that perhaps haven't driven in off-road conditions before, as we go up this hill, you'll notice just from the tire tracks that it's very, very slippery and very muddy, and you can actually see where animals and vehicles have slipped along this road. And this is where it's quite important, because you don't want to actually wreck the roads out here and make ruts that when the mud dries they're going to be difficult to navigate. You can see something slipped there. It's quite important to make sure that you maintain a sort of a constant power, so that you don't over accelerate. You can go up the hill quite slowly, so it's not too slippery, but you don't put too much power in or suddenly stop and then try and accelerate some more, because all you're going to do is spin your wheels in the mud and create these deep ruts, which is something we would far rather avoid. You'll notice that we're avoiding certain roads as well. Places like Mvubu Road and Yala Road South, those are all closed to us after rain. Oh, it seems as though Brent has been more fortunate than myself and has found a bird for you.
Look at this, it's one of the little cuckoos that is normally very well hidden, but due to the termite emergence, they're out in the open. I wonder who... Oh, off he went. Now, that looked like a Deirdrex, but I think I saw a classes as well. Let me just go back, see if I can spot. Now, there's one that we're missing. Somewhere around here. Oh, it's done a disappearing act. Oh, hang on, what's that there? Where are my binoculars? No. Oh, there with a caterpillar, Vim. Through, up, sorry, on the other side of this, behind it. Oh, there's a stick in the way. Is that, oh, was it the classes? I couldn't see, where'd he go? Oh, was it a Deirdrex? He went there. Where'd he go now? He's in there somewhere. There he is. Oh, he's got a hairy caterpillar. But it is a Deirdrex. look at that. Now, the cuckoos love caterpillars. So, it looks to be... I'm trying to see the eye. Oh, look at that. Cleaning its beak after feeding. Wasn't that incredible? Now, James is wondering which cuckoo species has the largest sexual dimorphism. Oh, it's quite a difficult one. Most of them are quite similar, but it'll be one of I'd probably say the African emerald cuckoo. There we go. There we go. That's the male and the female. Now, a couple of the others, like I think what's next should be here. There we go. Deirdrix as well, which we've just seen. And then again, oh no, that's not a cuckoo. That's a makua. Where's the classes? There we go. And there we go. You can even see he's got a caterpillar in his mouth. They really are fond of caterpillars. Okay, well, we just on our way through. Just one last check, see if we can spot anything. Alas, not. And alas, that little dipper head here is not a great area for signal. So while we head back towards Djuma, let's go see how Jamie's doing, and hopefully one of us can find a class's cuckoo shortly.
Our class's cuckoo is very much on my list of birds I would like to see this season. I've heard them a few times. That call that is written in the books as Mariki, Mariki. And they've got to be in this area somewhere in the dense vegetation of the drainage line. The problem with the cuckoos, like the Deirdrix cuckoo that you were looking at with Brent, is that they're quite secretive birds. They're not like, for example, that crested barbet that I could hear, and you almost immediately know that it's going to be sitting somewhere prominent, as it is, trilling away happily. The cuckoos, especially the green cuckoos, tend to be quite shy and hidden in vegetation. They don't sit up and display themselves like the birds like crested barbets and lilac-breasted rollers do. Look at that amazing trill. You can see the speed of the vibration of its larynx vibrating away. And of course, we've spoken about this before. The crested barbet able to maintain that trill for more than one lungful of breath by virtue of the fact that it can practice circular breathing. Breathes in through one side and manages to breathe out and trill through the other. Fascinating system. And relatively unusual even in birds. And vanished off now. It's a beautiful morning for birding. I think Brent's absolutely got the right idea. Let's see if we can't find another one of the cuckoos. This is what I was talking about with bumbling. The joy of spontaneity. I think we're going to go right. And actually, I have one reason for wanting to go right, and that is that Aubrey called in that there were tracks of a male leopard moving through this area towards Treehouse Dam. It gives us the opportunity to look at how full Treehouse is looking from the rain. And Treehouse Dam, Treehouse Waterhole, is usually one that fills up quite well because it sits at the bottom of a natural seep line. So all of the water that's collected in the soil and that hasn't been soaked up by the plants will push forward and flow down into Treehouse Waterhole itself. But we'll make our way there very, very slowly, stopping to check for any sign of the Queen of Djuma. And hopefully chance to see this male leopard that's walked through. Now Les, absolutely, isn't it crazy? Les says it's crazy how the leopards seem to disappear every few days. I'm still smarting from the other morning when Brian and myself happened upon really fresh tracks for Karula and her cubs. And I know that they were They can't have been far. Those tracks were so incredibly fresh, and we just didn't manage to find them, despite the efforts of 3 different guides, myself, Taxon, and Aubrey, and we just didn't have any success. And Tingana yesterday was on Torchwood, so he's done his usual, which he often does, his thing of potentially walking straight through Djuma over the night. I'm impressed with Aubrey that he managed to find leopard tracks on a day like today, because tracking is not easy after it's just rained, especially when it comes to leopards. But listen, I think it's time to break our leopard streak. When was the last time a leopard was seen on our live safaris? Brian, any idea?
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago, okay. So they haven't been gone for too long. They haven't abandoned us completely. There's always the knowledge as you drive around areas like this that somewhere there is a leopard. We can almost guarantee that there is a leopard on our traverse area, whether it's on Djuma, Arathusa, or Cheetah Plains. It's just a question of finding it. It's amazing also how old habits die hard. And places where you've seen leopards in the past, you always find yourself going slightly slower and just double, triple checking that they're not there once again, which isn't that bad of a habit to be in, because especially with females with cubs, they often will leave their cubs in a place that is familiar to those little ones. Places where they know that the cubs know the escape routes, they know which trees are good to climb, so that they feel slightly more secure in leaving them all alone. This is one of Karula's favorite hiding spots for her cubs. Apparently she crossed further south. She went onto our southern side of our traverse area, but it didn't look like the cubs went with her. Ninus, you wanted to know, talking of mysterious animals, since I was chatting earlier about the fact that the elephants seem to have disappeared as well, you wanted to know if I've seen Fang's herd since the birth of that gorgeous little elephant. And for those of you that missed it, we actually were fortunate enough to see an elephant that was myself and Jandre, largely thanks to Brent, who managed to find that placenta that was very, very fresh. And we managed to see a brand new hour-old baby elephant, still wobbly, still not quite dry from the whole birth. And it was with a herd of elephants that are very, very easily identifiable by a female that I suspect is the matriarch that we call Fang, because she's got a recurved tusk. It points backwards. It's grown backwards and curves towards her leg. It doesn't do her any harm, but it does make her very easily identifiable. I haven't seen that particular herd, but I know that Taylor did. She did see Fang and the little baby probably about a week or so after we had that very special moment with the new baby. So it was seen, but I haven't seen it since. And in fact, I think I've only seen elephants once since I've been back. And if I'd known it was going to be the last sighting in a while, I probably would have stayed with them for a little bit longer, but I was rushing to see if I could catch up with a lion. I really feel as though it's time to see an elephant. Okay, apparently these tracks of this male leopard cross and move towards Treehouse Dam. Let's just go and see. Well, hopefully we get lucky. It's going to be very difficult to track him on the soil, but perhaps we'll get lucky. And a very good morning to Mike in Richards Bay. You wanted to know, we've spoken now about mange at great length. You wanted to know whether or not I can tell you whether anthrax is present due to the drought. I haven't heard of any reported cases yet. However, oh my goodness. Actually, these leopard tracks are really very clear. I'll show you in a second. But Mike, you're absolutely on the right track in that anthrax does tend to rear its head, so to speak. I say I'm going to try and show them to you. Now they've disappeared. Hold on a moment. Sorry, Mike. Oof, now they're not. No, these have been rained on. They're almost completely invisible in patches where the sand's not quite as malleable. And now they've disappeared and vanished completely. Sorry, Mike. Distracted by leopard tracks. They are going this way, though. We'll keep an eye out for him. But after rain, or before the rain, I mean, he could actually have moved an enormous distance since. So, Mike, we haven't heard of any recorded cases, but as I said, Mike is absolutely correct in that anthrax does have, the outbreaks are more common during a drought, and we're very careful at this point. Whenever we find a carcass that is dead for no apparent reason, and it could be the buffalo that we're seeing, we're always exceptionally careful. We don't go up and touch it. We try not to interfere with it in any way, and we also report all sightings of carcasses that have not got an explained reason as to why they are there. And what I mean by that is no lions sitting on them, for example. It is a naturally occurring bacteria. It's fascinating, its resilience in terms of surviving for many, many years, just as spores. It's a nice lilac-breasted roller. Stop for 1 second. See him there, Brian. He is, if we look along into that silver cluster leaf, he is, I'll show you now, you'll see him as he moves slightly, a little bit to the right. Wait, where is he? And of course the elusive cuckoos. Okay. Nice opportunity for just some screenshots for one of the prettiest bird with probably the ugliest call. Their call does not suit them at all. When you look at a bird like this, you imagine it to have some sweet lilting melody, perhaps like a nightingale or something similar, or robin. Instead they go wah, wah, and off he goes. Oh, nest. Another one. Oh, look at that. How cool was that? Surprise! That was definitely a surprise, wasn't it, Brian?
No.
It's also amazing to watch birds, there it goes, back in, fit into holes that do not look big enough to fit them in, like cats. So, right, we have found many hornbill nests, crested barbet nests, magpie shrike nests, and this is the second lilac-breasted roller nest that I've found since I've been back to work. It is definitely a time of lots and lots of little babies. And there's another nest to keep an eye on. Well, chances are she could well be incubating the eggs at the moment. The fact that the male, and that probably is the male that has been feeding her, or went across to feed her, the fact that the male's been bringing her food. Let's just see whether or not he is as industrious as the male hornbills that we've seen. Perhaps he's going to go and catch something more for her. Here he goes. Awesome. No. Gone much farther afield than the hornbills usually do. Well, that was awesome. Another nest for us to keep an eye on. Remember when Scott found that nest in the marula tree and we were able to watch the fledglings? It'll be nice to keep an eye on that nest as we move further and further into summer. I'm going to go and search for Tingana, just in the hope that we get lucky. Meantime, I think that our journey in Cheetah Plains is complete and that we're back on Djuma once again.
On Djuma, and just for those of you who have just joined us or might be a little bit late, my name's Brent Smith. I have the incredible VM on camera and we are in search of everything. So I know Jamie's looking for Mr. Tingana. There were male leopard tracks around Treehouse Dam, so I think I'm going to give her a hand. I'm going to start from Twin Dans. I'm going to drive up the southern boundary, make sure he hasn't managed to sneak out. Oh, it looks like we're about to have a traffic jam. Let me just move out of the way here. Morning, morning.
Hey man, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
I'm good, thanks, man.
How's it? Hello, hello? No, I'm on TV. Any updates in the West?
It's just a little bit quiet. Caught a bastard there at Safari Extra.
Wow! Oh, mate, that's worth going to have a look at.
Yeah, but he went more.
Oh, of course, he's gone.
So, yeah, I was after it as well, but I missed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. Enjoy the lions. Okay, off we continue. So, isn't that amazing? There was a Corey bastard spotted on Arathusa airstrip, but he's gone now. Might be definitely worth going to have a look for that on the Sunset Safari. I don't think there's ever been one seen on Safari Live. If there has, let me know. Have we ever seen a Corey bastard on the live drives? Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. Let me know. I'd love to know. Now, they do hang around sometimes for a while, so he might have been moved off now, but it might be definitely worth looking on the Sunset Safari. Okay, and we're going to cross through the raging torrent that is the Milwaukee River. Oh, I think I caught you all. So a lot of people saying tree wisteria. It's not. It does have purple flowers and tree wisteria, but this tree is not a tree wisteria for the nearly impossible tree quiz today. I'll see if I can see another one. It might not have flowers on it. Now another guess in, a syringa tree. It is not a syringa tree. I think I've caught you guys. Finally. I thought I had you with the dwarf verbene yesterday, and you guys were on it like a flash. So maybe, luckily for me, it keeps you guys going for a little bit longer to what the nearly impossible tree quiz is today. Now, I know I was the last person to drive down this road on yesterday's Sunset Safari, so if we find any leopard tracks here, I know they are somewhere between last night and today. Well, hello Justin. And Justin's wondering, how often is a new species of plant or animal discovered in South Africa? Not that often. South Africa is one of the most widely studied in terms of those things. When a new species, probably not a new species to the world, occasionally we'll get a new bird species, a vagrant that's been blown by a tropical storm or an Arctic storm onto the land. New plant species, probably the most interesting place from a plant species point of view. I'm not sure if they've found a new one in the last couple of years, but is the Soutpansberg Mountains, which basically means the Salt Pan Mountains, which are to the north of us. Now, there are over 1,000 little species of euphorbia there, and those are quite often the tiny little lichens or euphorbias or things of the newest species discovered, but I haven't heard of one for a while. Now, the place where most new species are discovered with the most regularity is, of course, the Congo Basin rainforests, which are very little explored in comparison to the savannas of Africa. And most new species found in Africa these days are generally insects. Now, we've seen one giant land snail already this sunrise safari, but it seems like Jamie's found another.
I'm sorry. That was utterly hilarious. And I don't think that Kirst even realized that she did it. Here you go. Here is your lion's Jan snail.
Okay.
A lion Jan snail. Kirsty said she had no idea. Okay, let's have a look at our lion Jan snail for a moment. I can't laugh too hard, Kirst, because you know me. It's not like I don't do that on a regular basis. Sorry, I would have gone round through the front of the car, but I would have wound up trapped in the trees. Hello, lion Jan snail. How are you today? Now, the reason that it is called a lion Jan snail, or alternately a giant land snail, I'm not sure how big the one that you saw with Brent is, but this is a particularly large one. Look how big it is compared to... Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. It's okay. There you go. Out you come. Let's do it this way. Look how incredibly large this particular land snail is. It's basically the length of my hand when it is fully stretched out. He/she, which I'll explain in a moment. So an incredibly big snail. They are favoured by local people in terms of eating them. I'm not a huge fan of even the idea of snails, so I'm not in any way vaguely tempted. And they're fascinating and actually relatively unusual to see one of this size. This snail has taken years and years to grow to these proportions. So it really is a truly impressive creature. No, not the land snail! Protected with my life as a vehicle comes driving past. Rexon and myself can't seem to avoid each other at the moment. And there we go, a giant land snail slowly but surely making its way across the road. Fortunately, I'm here to draw attention to it, but most guides moving very slowly are very, very conscious of the... Rexon's just turned around, he's not having any of it. Very conscious of the presence of creatures like this, particularly after the rain. Gives you an idea of just how fast land snails move. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm not wearing my watch. We need to time this. Let's make a mark. Here. And let's say, how long is that? It's roughly 10 centimeters. There we go. Let's time. Maybe that was a bit dramatic. We might be here all day waiting for it. Okay, it's crossed the finish line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to guess here, because I can't be bothered to wait for it to get all the way to the finish line, that it's probably going to take about 30 seconds to cover about 10 centimeters. So what's that? That's about 20 centimeters per minute. That's its speed. In kilometers per hour, that would be slow, give or take a couple of units of measurement. You can do the math for me in a moment. So to cover about 20 centimeters would take this land snail about a minute. And the reason I'm drawing attention to that is, of course, because it all plays part of the reason that they're designed in the way that they are. When you move this slowly, imagine you are one lone land snail traveling along at this speed, tremendously fast. Oh, we've finally reached the finish line. There we go. Imagine you are a giant land snail, all on your lonesome, desperately lonely and in search of a mate. Now, there's no such thing as snail tinder out here or anywhere in the bush, and there's certainly nothing for them to be able to find each other. So when they do, when they have those rare encounters with each other, they absolutely have to make the most of it. Hence why I named it he or she. They're not hermaphrodites, but they do have reproductive parts for both males and females, so that when they encounter another land snail, each one can impregnate the other. Isn't that fascinating? And when you move like this, you can sort of understand why. Okay. Good luck, Mr. Land Snail. I'm not going to touch it or move it out of the road. Nobody's going to drive over it. We know where it is. It knows where it is. We'll just let it go about its daily business. Slow but steady. It is, however, very, very visible to birds, and this would be perfect prey for a bird of prey. Any kind of a raptor. There you go, off you go. You can see with age, just last thing, sorry. You can actually see with age just how light the shell is going on the edges, how bleached it is becoming. And of course we often find the dead land snail shells, white in colour, standing out starkly in the mush. They're cool. They really are very cool animals. And I know they are a favourite among some of you. Okay. Bye-bye, snail. Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna have to go all the way around the back. Sorry, excuse me. The way I parked myself. And goodbye to Kirsty's Liant Jan Snail, which is my favorite Kirsty comment to date. Liant Jan Snail. It's even better than the time that I was meant to be going live and she said to me, 3, 2, 1, you're off air. I mean, you're live. She says, hee hee, stop it. Oh, Chris, thank you for making my day. I'm going to go on either side of it, by the way. Cheers, little land snail. I promise you I put my wheels on either side of it. Very practiced. Brian, you can attest to the fact that it is still crossing the road. What was the question? Oh yes, Vulpine Wolf Girl on the subject of our land snail as it slowly moves off. He wants to know if these snails can be poisonous. To the best of my knowledge, no. I haven't heard of any of them being poisonous. There are, as Steph and myself discovered many months ago when I was on a bushwalk where I encountered several species I have never ever seen before in my entire life, and neither had Steph. There are quite a few exotic species of snail. I don't know whether or not they could potentially be poisonous to us. As far as I know, the giant land snail is entirely edible, which is unfortunate for it, and it would actually probably be better if it were poisonous, just in terms of keeping it safe from hungry people. But no, sadly for the snail, it is entirely edible for us and for many of the creatures out here. Sometimes you'll even find lions eating them. Here's a good question. Such a good question, you have flummoxed me. James, it's your question about whether or not do I think that they have evolved to move as slowly as they do, and if there is some kind of advantage to that speed of movement. I guess that a lot of movement, or a lot of predators, their eyes are attracted to sudden movements. We've seen the way that the birds hunt. You can see them cocking their head from side to side. Those of you that have watched certain documentaries with chameleons hunting, for example, you'll see how as soon as the insect moves, that's when the chameleon strikes. Perhaps it is a way of fooling a predator into thinking that it is something that it isn't. Perhaps a rock that is slowly blowing in the wind, or so. I don't know how it works. Of course, they've got that hard protection of a shell, but I have to tell you that that shell is relatively flimsy and easily breakable. So maybe it is just to avoid predators, most of which will be attracted to movement. I can tell you a funny story about Lexi, my Weimaraner. Now, Lexi's a wonderful little dog. She doesn't... Initially, when she was a puppy, she wanted to not really chase everything, just play with everything, except lions. She knew immediately that lions were a no-go area. Obviously, that instinct's very, very strong. But Lexi has a thing about moving rocks, whether it's a land snail or a tortoise. She is utterly terrified of them. And she will not stop barking until you move the offending moving rock out of her vicinity completely. She goes absolutely insane because obviously she can't figure out what this thing is. It's a rock, but it's moving, and she can't quite figure out how the two fit together. And I've got a video of her barking relentlessly at a tortoise, but she won't go near it. She'll run up to it and then race away, barking furiously as soon as it moves. I wish she'd do the same with snakes, though, and scorpions, although she's learned the scorpion lesson. While I do my cursory impala glance, no babies here, Heidi's a little bit confused about what I was trying to say about the land snails, which is fair enough because I don't think I explained it fully. You're saying, do they both get babies, and how do they both get babies? So when two land snails love each other very much, or more realistically, when two land snails actually happen to encounter each other, which is not often, what they will do is they have got, oh, this is interesting. I'll stop here for a sec, but let me finish, Heidi. Let me finish my explanation quickly, and then we'll talk about this poor buffalo. So the the land snail has both a male part and a female reproductive part. And I'm hesitant to call it a penis or anything like that, because it's slightly different in terms of its design, but it is basically the equivalent, and they're basically the equivalent of a vaginal tract. And they produce both ovaries and sperm, or the equivalents thereof. So what they do is when they meet, they essentially fertilize each other. Very unlike the process of the mammals, like this buffalo, which of course is the more conventional process with which we are more familiar. Poor girl, she's missing a horn. Completely, that has broken off. I have seen one female buffalo before on Arathusa, watching this oxpecker dig into her ear. Can you imagine what that feels like, Brian? What that sounds like for an animal with such sensitive hearing? Oh, I don't blame you, girl. But speaking of oxpeckers, I have seen one female buffalo with a missing horn around Buffelshoek Dam. Brian, were you filming with me, or was it VM? I think it was VM. I think it was during one of our rehearsals. And this poor female buffalo, her horn had broken off, and obviously the oxpeckers, because it is living bone at the base, the oxpeckers had started eating away at the bone marrow, and to the point that they'd made a cavity that the oxpecker could actually disappear into in the base of her horns. I can't begin to describe how disturbing it looked. This buffalo's not so bad. That would have hurt. Don't get me wrong, when that horn broke off, it would have hurt. It may have been while she was running away from something like a lion, and she snapped it off on a tree in her momentum. Look, thinking about it. Obviously hers is not quite deep enough for it to get in there. So once again, another tiny herd of buffalo. And almost invariably, that's because they've been chased by lions at some point. That's it. Is it just the three of them? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is just the three of them. So a breeding herd, for our new viewers, typically consists of at least 50 animals, usually more, that we'll see, although they've been slightly more sort of spread out in slightly smaller herds, just in terms of coping with the drought and there being enough food to go around. But when you see a group of buffalo like this, if it includes a female, as it does, then chances are she's been separated from the rest of her breeding herd by being chased by lions. And she can remain separated from the herd that she came from for the rest of her life. She might not ever find them again. And she might just decide to rejoin with a different breeding herd of buffalo when she does encounter them. And off she goes. Very, very distinctive with that broken horn. We can keep an eye out for her. 1, 2, yep. 2 females and a little one, now that I've got a slightly better view. So can almost guarantee they've been chased by lions. I'm going to move on and move further to the west of Djuma. Brent has taken that idea into the extreme and is on his way towards Arathusa.
Well, we decided Corey busted is not something to be trifled with, so we're going to try. It's a long shot, but our plan is to go past the airstrip and then move back towards the airstrip. It might be in that crest around Central Road in Arathusa. Fingers crossed that we get some Corey busted luck, and you never know. That's the last place we saw Anderson as well. Let's just see if anyone can hear me on Arathusa. Morning, mobile stations. Any updates for Safari? fingers crossed. Corey busted. As I said, I've never seen them in the northern Sabi Sands. I've seen them in the southern Sabi Sands. They generally prefer bigger open grasslands. So I always thought if we were going to see one, it was going to be at Cheetah Plains, not on Arathusa. But that's the thing about the bush. You never know what you're going to see, and things can just arrive. Well done to Judy H. and George Ann, who got the nearly impossible tree quiz correct. It was an apple leaf or a rain tree, and the scientific name for Phalaenoptera valencia. And there we go. Here's one of the most successful warthog moms we see regularly on the Arathusa airstrip, and she's managed to raise 4 little piglets to adulthood. Done such a good job. Now look at that incredibly long white whiskers. Now that's quite an interesting thing why they're there. So while the pigs are young, their whiskers seem to be far more prominent, and it's to pretend to be tusks, so it looks almost like a tusk even though it's just a wonderful set of whiskers. As they get older, it'll thin out. Here we go, onto knees, get down to the roots, to the bulbs. And we do see this warthog family regularly here around the Arathusa airstrip. Making sure we're not up to any nonsense. The rest of them have got down to the business of breakfast. You can start seeing the little tusks. Look at that nose working, sniffing for the succulent spots. Okay, well, pigs, we're in search of the world's heaviest flying bird, so we'll see you later. Marie says she's very happy that I changed my mind to look for the Corey Bustard. As I said, it is a long shot, but I think it's worth it. Maybe our luck will hold. Okay, so they said it went west from their airstrip. And so we're going to go now past onto Central Road, or to track last, and then move our way through the crest. Maybe we'll get a sighting of it. So apparently very, very long time ago, a Corey Bustard has been seen, but only once. So hopefully we can make it twice today. Definitely not one been seen since I've been with Safari Live. Now, it's amazing. So I've just been listening to the Game Drive radio. Everyone is desperately searching for elephants. Now, with the rain, those elephants have dispersed. I mean, I'm not even seeing elephant tracks at the moment. What bird was that? Look there. Oh, there it goes. Oh, one of the cuckoos. It was too quick. Let's see if we can get another view of it. Oh dear, it looks like it's disappeared completely. Kingfisher, did you see a kingfisher?
Maybe.
Oh, Vim thinks he might have spotted a kingfisher. Oh. Oh, Lila, is it a roller? Yeah. It's a roller. Oh, just the electric blue. Now, I wonder who's going to see the first woodlands kingfisher. Now, we're going to now start scouring the central region of Arathusa for the world's heaviest flying bird, the Corey bustard. While we do that, let's go see what Jamie's doing back on Djuma.
I think the chances of us finding a Corey bustard here, at least on Djuma, are relatively slim, but you never know. I think I might just try and get the first Corey bustard on camera for this season. Brian, have you ever seen a Corey bustard?
I have.
Oh, you would have seen them on Swalu.
Yeah.
You would have seen a few of them on Swalu.
I think I've seen one.
Have you seen one here?
Arathusa.
Okay. It's a bird that I'm dying to see here. They are such... Whoopsie. Turned on my indicators. Such fascinating birds. I do feel as though, Brian, we need to beat Brent when it comes to finding the first woodlands kingfisher, though.
Yeah.
At least. Try and see if we can spot one that isn't a roller. Interesting that apart from, and I mean yesterday and the day before, these areas were teeming with general game. It's interesting that there's hardly anything. Apart from impala, I think I've seen one waterbuck. And that's it. And it just goes to show how, as soon as it rains, just how dispersed these animals become. They're not forced into an area. They don't have to worry about going to a waterhole for water. There's lots of puddles that will suffice. And it completely changes the dynamic of the area that you're in essentially the space of about 24 hours. Oh, here's something. Hello, gnus. I love watching wildebeest. Here's another animal to be on the theme of babies, to be excited about at this point. Probably not just yet, though. They've got another month to go before the births are imminent. Last year we had a live wildebeest birth. Got Kirsty, whatever Kirsty has is contagious, apparently. Brian's filmed a live wildebeest birth. How many have you filmed, Brian?
Only one.
Only one. Only one. I'm going to aim to make it more this year. Last year I spent, I think, somewhere in the region of about 9 hours with a wildebeest herd. And in the final 3, we had that live birth, and it was absolutely magical. Some of them are starting to bulge ever so slightly, showing the odd sign of pregnancy. And I know that we seem baby obsessed, but I promise you, those of you who are regular viewers will understand completely the magic of a live birth. And those of you who are new to the whole thing, you will understand shortly. Our wildebeest calf, when it is born, is a completely different color to the adults. A much, much lighter in color, which I assume is a product of an attempted camouflage. It doesn't really work, actually, and in fact the wildebeest calves in this area at least seem to stand out far more than the adults with their lightish coloured fur. They're actually almost the colour of a lion, if not even lighter. And they look completely different, but oh my goodness, are they fun to watch. We've seen on Cheetah plains before, we've seen on Djuma before, the way that the wildebeest play and chase each other around, and the females running around in circles around the male. The calves are even more fun. They dance and they skip, and then they go to sleep, and then they get up again, and then they dance and they skip some more. They're absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for wildebeest calving season. And sit on foot in an open area where they can see you, and you sit on a termite mound or something and you go woof, woof. You see, now they're looking up. Some of them are looking up at me. Woof, I'm not the world's best wildebeest caller. Yeah, not so much, huh? But if you do sit and do that for a while, they're quite curious antelope, and they'll actually come and walk up to you, and they'll start calling back at you. It's hilarious. They're not into it today, though. Not even vaguely interested. And that probably wasn't my best. Brian, can you do you're better at impressions. It is infinitely better than mine.
No, they're not keen.
They're not keen to play today. They're not keen at all. How very disappointing. Oh well, next herd. You do start to look a little bit odd, though. If we were to just sit here, to the objective eye, perhaps that wasn't watching the live show, somebody driving past, find us both sitting here going... starts to look very odd. Alright, Woolies. If you don't want to play, we'll leave you alone. You can go about grazing. Lovely question on our sunset safari. Robin, you wanted to know what the word safari means, and if it's only Africa. No, it's the sunrise safari. You see, Kirsty, it's your fault. I blame Kirsty for this. She's twisted all of our brains so that we can't talk properly. Sorry, Robin. Sunrise safari. This is the morning. It's when the sun comes up. The sunrise safari. You wanted to know what safari meant. It means journey. And I think it's of Swahili origin, unless I'm very much mistaken. And I think it's a beautiful word. I think it's beautifully descriptive of the whole process of a safari. And you wanted to know if only Africa uses it as a term of description. It's actually, funnily enough, in South Africa, we don't refer to going on safari. We actually talk about going on game drive. We don't really talk about going on a safari, or at least personally, that's how I always talked about it when I was growing up. You went to visit the bush and you went on a game drive, which is very South African, game drive. But yes, I think as far as I know, it's of African origin. It's largely based around African safaris. But I don't know whether it's something that's been expanded now with the growth of tourism in different places and the growth of interest that people have into different areas, that perhaps you could go and do jaguar safaris, you could go and do tiger safaris. So it's a word that's been used, that has started to take on a greater meaning, but is always really in the context of nature and going on a journey in nature, essentially. There you go. Just for those of you that are in the know, correct me if I am wrong. I'm relatively certain it's a Swahili origin word, but now I've started to doubt myself. Sorry, elephant tracks. Big bull elephant, but not fresh. Not worth following, unfortunately. And very indistinct, otherwise I would stop and show you, but in light like today, it's not going to be very clear. Thought it was Swahili in origin. Just have, every now and again you have those moments of self-doubt where something you've known your entire life suddenly becomes a question again. I'm sure you're all keen to find out what is happening with Brent in his search for the heaviest flying bird. Let's go and hear how he's doing.
No luck on the crest, which I'm hoping that maybe it's popped out onto the airstrip again, but it's not looking too promising at the moment, unfortunately. I don't see anything. We'll try a little bit further down the airstrip. All I see is the normal inhabitants, the lapwings, and some Egyptian geese. kind of stick. There we go, just checking. Oh yeah, I can hear him calling. There he is, on the far right there, Vim. You can hear him. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Well, there's buffalo weaver as well, building its nest. And you hear that calling. There he is. African hoopoe. He's puffing up his neck. We're pushing air through to do that call. Such a pretty call. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Looking for the ladies. So they're birds, yeah, but alas, not the world's heaviest flying bird just yet. I haven't given up, don't worry, we've still got quite a bit of the airstrip to do. Whoop, 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 whoop. Come on, Corey bastard. The binoculars at the ready. This looks like more like Corey bastard country rather than the thicker areas, so he might have moved in to a slightly more open grassland or woodland around here. I think it's going to evade us. I think he's moved on. Now, Anna Marie is wondering what is a Corey bastard's call. Now, it's quite a deep call. Let me just find it for you. There we go. Okay. So for those of you who don't know what Corey bastard looks like, there we go. That's what he looks like. The world's largest, or heaviest, sorry, flying bird. And his call. Sorry, let me just find. There we go. I've got to put it under my hat. It's a funny sound, isn't it? Almost like a cough. Now they generally do that when they're displaying to each other during the mating season. There we go. That is the Corey bastard's call. Very strange one. Almost sounds like Karula calling the cubs. So that Corey bastard has done a disappearing act. Oh, hopefully it's back. I think it's probably just moving through, and it's probably going to keep moving through. Moving with the rain, looking for lots of fun things to eat. Now, Corey bastards are quite endangered. So during the 1800s and the early 1900s, they were shot extensively for food because they're not very fast moving. and apparently very good tasting according to some of the Bushman trackers I've worked with in the Kalahari. They say Kori bustard is nice, very nice. Okay, so unfortunately our Kori bustard search was a bust, and let's go back to Djuma to see what Jamie and Brian are up to.
The endless joy that we have with the various bustards of this area and their somewhat amusing names. Sorry, I'm just stopping to look at this flock of helmet shrikes. I'm hoping we can get them on camera. There's been something of a birding day this morning. Oh, you cheeky thing. All right, well, it was worth a try, wasn't it, Brian? It was. A flock of white-crested helmet shrikes. You always see them together in this area, and they can be fascinating to watch if they would just sit still for more than 1 second at a time. Now, just bear with me 1 second. I need to do an update on the game drive comms. I haven't heard of any changes. I've just found Nkonzo 4, 1 Minota Ingwe going north into the block from Balanites, just a little bit to the northwest of the repeater. It doesn't look like the tracks come out on Impala Road, but it's so damp I might have missed them. He may or may not have heard me. It is uncertain. Oh well. So that message there was that I found tracks of Tingana, so he went all the way from Treehouse Dam, where we had him earlier. Sorry. Maybe from last night. Looks like there might have been a little bit of rain on top of them. But they're on top of most of the other Nkonzo of this area. Okay, copy that. Thanks, Rex. I didn't realize she'd been seen in that area. Whenabouts was that? Huh. Okay, copy. Thanks very much, Rex. Right, well that was interesting information, something that I don't think any of us realized. Karula didn't cross south yesterday. The lines got crossed somewhere along the line. The female leopard that we of course are always on the lookout for with her 2 cubs, she was actually seen on Djuma yesterday morning, but on the boundary with Torchwood, which of course is our eastern boundary, not our southern boundary. So I think there was just some confusion there about which boundary she was on. But apparently she was last seen moving on to Djuma, which is really exciting prospects for this afternoon's sunset safari. Rex sounds determined to try and find her. More buffalo. Having done the updates on our leopards, I think I've missed his tracks. He usually walks this path on his way out. Sorry, let me get us a bit closer to have a look at this buffalo herd. There's a whole new range of bumps here, Brian. I know, I'm sorry. Bouncing around on the back there. Hello, buffaloes. Another small group of them, slightly more than the last herd that we saw, but probably about, 7 or 8 individuals here. So still, again, probably an offshoot from a herd that got chased by lions. These poor buffalo are having a really rough time of things, although at least it's rained. For them, it is looking up, looking much more positive. In the next 4 or so days, we're going to see the impact that the rain has had. We'll start to see more grass coming through, a little bit more for them to eat. And, of course, they're not forced to visit the same waterhole day after day that actually has water in it, which means that they're not necessarily going to make themselves such easy targets for the lions. and I'm sure they're quite happy about that particular aspect. And speaking of happy animals, there's another vulture. Let's go and have a look. Happy and very full scavengers at this time. The hyenas haven't even bothered with the carcasses on Djuma. They've obviously got plenty on Manuleti to keep them occupied. And the vultures are sitting very happy, very fat, with very full crops. Which is great for them as well, because of course it's not just the breeding season of the little passerines, it's also the breeding season of birds like this white-backed vulture. And we'll probably find there, after this drought, there's a population boon. James, speaking of very full vultures, this one's actually doesn't have a full crop. He wants to know how quickly a vulture can digest a full crop. I have absolutely no idea, James. I really honestly have no clue. My guess would be somewhere in the region of about 24 hours, but that is a pure guess. And I'm actually going to turn to those of you with birds, although it's a difficult one because I doubt, highly, highly doubt that any of you have pet vultures. They're not exactly something that's in demand, are they? I think a pet vulture might be quite cool. You can clean up the scraps of dinner. No, I'm joking, of course. We don't keep wild animals as pets. But those of you who perhaps have had birds as pets in your lives, maybe you can traject. There's a little one for comparison. How long would it take a vulture with a full crop? I have absolutely no idea. I am baffled. I'm going to guess and say 24 hours. But I'm opening it up to those of you. If a vulture weighs roughly somewhere in the region of about 6 kilograms, which is just over 12 pounds, I don't know if you can maybe try and work out how fast it would work with other birds. Although it's a difficult one because, of course, it's an entirely different food structure or food system to most of the birds that are kept as pets. Things like parrots and canaries and so on, all seed eaters. Don't think it would be quite the same. So, James, you have asked a question that has caught me out, and I'm going to go and try and find out and see if I can work out exactly how long it would take for you. I'll have to try and give you an answer on the sunset safari. I would say their digestive system works quite rapidly. And of course, metabolism of a bird works very, very fast. That I do know. Their heart beats incredibly quickly, so it must be quite a rapid process. So while I puzzle over the maths involved in how fast a full crop disappears, let's head back across to Brent for an update.
Oh dear, that unfortunately the Corey Bastard search did not come to fruition, so we are back on Djuma now, and hopefully we're going to have a little bit of luck in the last few minutes of drive. You never know what's around the next corner. And of course the most exciting thing is we're going to be doing it again in a few hours for the sunset safari, and who knows what wonders will await us then. Now, Taylor says she's never seen a snake on the show. Well, Taylor, we do get snakes, and now that we've had a bit of rain and summer's out, we might get lucky enough to see. Strangely enough, the most common snake we've seen on Safari Live is the world famous black mamba. But you're wondering what the python's up to. I'm sure the pythons are around. I've only seen one really big python, and that was in May last year, and nothing since then. But I'm sure they're around. If we're lucky enough to find a spot where one likes to bask, we might see them a bit more often. Now, I used to know about a spot in the southern Sabi Sands where after rain and a bit of sunshine you could almost find a big python sunning itself on the edge of a termite mound. But alas, we haven't found such a place up here in the north yet. Now, we've also seen sand snakes, we've seen variegated bush snakes. What else have we seen, Vim? Oh, red-lipped herald. Oh, blind snakes. Oh, hello. A dark female giraffe. No, it's a male with very small horns. And just looked like a female just because their horns weren't too big. It's quite a small male. And very dark. It's probably quite old. Let's have a look. Yes, you can see not the most prominent horns on that male. There you go, you can see a bit of battle scarring on his face. Oh, that funny nose. And there we go, ruminating away. You can actually see the ball in his cheek of a food that he's brought up from his stomach. Now, quite often when you watch for a bit, you'll watch chew, 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 and then he'll swallow and bring up another one. And so that sideways action of a ruminant. Non-ruminating animals, jaws go up and down. Ruminants go from side to side. There we go. Boom. There we're going down. Next one coming up. There we go. Rump up. Isn't that cool? There we go. Yes, you. There we go. So obviously the ruminants have 4 stomachs, and they're able to change the boluses. The bolus is that ball of vegetable matter that he's chewing on at the moment. So once they've digested enough and broken it down to get the most nutrients out, they'll swallow and bring up another. And what this does, it ensures they don't have to feed constantly or in search of food constantly. So they might eat quite a lot and then they'll stand and do not much but ruminate like this guy is doing at the moment. Did he just swallow another one? No. He just took a break from chewing. Well, Mr. Giraffe, thank you for that. Always lovely to see. Funny looking creatures they are. Okay, we are coming towards the end of the drive. Is Karula going to make a magic appearance? No one's seen her in a few days. It is proving quite tough for leopards at the moment, but fortunately we do have those incredible inkahumas that are resident on Djuma at the moment. Unfortunately, with this rain and the spreading out of the herbivores, buffalo and zebra and wildebeest and such, our lovely lion run might be in a bit of trouble. Now, it's quite a strong possibility when the buffalo and a lot of the other animals move to the north to the basalt plains on the edge of the Manyaleti, and the lions are going to follow. But while they're here, let's make hay while the sun's shining and enjoy them every day. And of course, with the onset of the rains, there's all the wonderful little bugs and butterflies and birds, tortoises and terrapins to have a look at. As I said, we'll see you again in a few short hours for the fantastic sunset safari. But from Veerm and myself here on Djuma Private Game Reserve, it's been absolutely marvellous, and we'll see you a little later. But let's go across to Jamie for the last bit of the show.
And for the last bit of the show, I owe a deep debt of gratitude to Asker, who looked up, Googled exactly how long it takes a vulture to digest its full belly and crop. And the answer is actually not far off from what I guessed, which I said a day in 24 hours, and apparently it is 30 hours. So there you go, James, the answer to your question, and thank you to Asker for sending that through, because without you, I would not have had a clue. I obviously would have gone and Googled it when I got home, but it's nice that we can share that information now with all of us and with all of you watching. And that is the joy of the interaction of the live safari, is that we can all learn from each other. And I have learned a great deal since I started working here. And I think one of the most special things in terms of learning about from each and every viewer that sends through information is actually learning and prompting me to go and learn myself about animals outside of my sphere of comfort. So the animals, the birds, the things that you have in your backyard, those of you fortunate enough to have things like bears and so on, animals that I dream of seeing. It is an exceptional learning experience. I honestly can't begin to imagine how we might top it. Speaking of topping things, last minute or so, last minute and a half, do we see any babies? No. I think this is the same herd I stopped at this morning, to be honest. I'm not going to tell any stories here. This is definitely the same herd that we stopped for. So we've come full circle from the start to the finish of the sunrise safari. Lovely to hear from you, Joshua. In the last 60 seconds of our show, you say this is your first time here and you'll definitely be coming back. Thank you, Joshua. It's lovely to have you on board, and we look forward to your questions soon. Right. Thank you, Brian, for your wonderful camera work as always. Sorry, we're going to do a very rushed closing. Oh, it's not so rushed. We've got 30 seconds. Whew. I can calm myself to a minor panic, as well as to Kirsty and to Jerry in final control. And most importantly, a big thank you to the Thumb, of course, for all that the Thumb does. The Thumb is an invaluable member of the Safari Live team. Don't you think, Thumb? And as another one, thank you to all of you for your questions and your comments. I'll see you on the Sunset Safari. Bye-bye.